All right. Oh, and I will share after this session today, I will follow up with an email with links and anything that we cover here. Okay. So let's dive in now to updates. I have two important updates that I want to share with you. The first is that if you have been on the Children's Trust Fund Alliance website recently, you might have noticed that they've done some updating. The thing I want to draw your attention to is this here. If you click this sign agreement button, you can sign a Google form, and that will allow you to access their fully updated training manual. So if you trained in March of 2023, that giant training manual binder was half updated materials and half outdated materials. And now everything's been fully up to date. So you can download those files, which is really great. I know there's a few people out there who wanted a digitized version of that training manual. It didn't previously exist. Now it does. So be sure to download that if it's something that would be helpful to you. And the other important update I wanted to share is that the DCS Office of Prevention is partnering with us here at PCA to offer training stipend. Yes, yes. I see some raising the roof happening. For those protective factors trainers that have delivered those initial 3 free trainings, you are eligible to receive a $200 stipend for trainings you deliver out in the community. That is going to start in April. So we will send to the certified trainer list an application survey that you'll complete where you'll request a certain number of stipends depending on the trainings that you plan to deliver. We'll approve a certain number depending on the funds available, and then you'll submit a reimbursement form to us to get that stipend payment processed. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to open it up in case, Claire, there's anything to add, and then if there's questions from the group.
Thanks, Michelle. You're always so clear and visually everything is beautiful, which I so much appreciate about you. By the way, these stipends can go to both you, well, not both, to either your organization if you're doing this during work time, or to you personally if you're doing this on a personal capacity. So just so you know, this could be extra income for your organization or for you specifically. Just to repeat it, those that are eligible for the stipends are those who have completed their 3 free ones after that they did their the training of trainers whenever you did, and submitted data to us. So it was the expectation of every person who received a scholarship to attend the training of trainers to offer 3 free presentations in their community in exchange for that scholarship. And once you've done that 3, then you're eligible to get paid for these. There are a few target populations that the DCS Office of Prevention would really like us to focus on. And those are really mandated reporters. So law enforcement, educators, and behavioral health pros, like those are the ones that we'd like most. We are encouraging you to focus on those if you can, but these stipends are really eligible for any community group that is interested in these trainings and that you have the capacity to train. Also, just so you know, you would be responsible for coordinating it. So we are not going to kind of assign you to a group to train. This is you wanting to go out there and to connect with the school, let's say, and to offer to do this for their parent-teacher organization, or let's say a Kiwanis club in your community. You will need to make the connection and offer that training and then coordinate it, deliver it, and then you can submit for reimbursement from us. But more on that later. We'll give you a whole application for stipends, like Michelle said, and a reimbursement form. Janelle.
I know you're shocked I have a question. So for this per training, is that per module, or is it, because I tend to do a 2-day everything?
Yes.
So would I break it into, how would that look?
Fantastic question. Yeah, and that's a question that I should have addressed. So thank you for asking. So the $200 stipends are per module, and we expect them to be 1.5 hours to 2 hours. So that's kind of the window. So let's say if you give a 30-minute presentation on the protective factors, you're not eligible to receive the stipend. So really between 90 minutes and 2 hours, which is the recommended amount, is you're eligible for that stipend. Given that math, if you do a 2-day training that it has the intro and then each of the protective factors, that is kind of 6 modules. So you're eligible for $1,200. Yeah, Tammy. And you're still on mute, Tammy. Someone's got to do it at least.
Yeah, I hit the button and then it just totally didn't want to go. So sorry. Quick question. With regards to, I saw on the previous slide, trainings minimum 5 people. I had actually held a training in January, had 6 people signed up for it, super exciting, but I only had 3 arrive. So does that mean I have that I should do an extra training because I didn't have that minimum of 5?
Gosh, you know, that is specific, Tammy. What I would recommend is for when you're coordinating trainings, get at least 10 people registered. I know that that's not, like, if it's a staff of 6, you can't like plan on getting 10. We understand that you made your best effort, so I would say no, but please continue to train your community. So no, you don't have to do another one in order to fulfill your 3rd training requirement, because
Okay.
we'll just say we understand that you made your best effort. But so for everyone, we understand that you are doing your best effort. Please do make your best effort to get enough people there to make it worth your time. And yeah, thanks for that question.
I was really excited that I had 6 signed up to come and attend. And then I was like, okay, I got 3. I was excited that 3 showed up.
Yeah.
But I
We
just
know,
wanted
like,
to clarify.
yeah, totally.
Thank you.
It's not super hard and fast, but bottom line is we trust you. And Michelle, do you have the link to the trainer site that you could put in the group chat? Thank you. Other questions or comments? Okay, great. So more on that later.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you, Janelle. Apparently I sent you to the waiting room originally, the link to that site. So I'm glad it's here in the main space with all of you. Okay, friends, let's dive in now to looking at the data that we collected as part of the November 6th summit. So if you attended, you filled out that survey, and that first question was, what topics should we explore in future community of practice sessions? And I did my best to comb through the responses and group and categorize similar responses. So I wanted to share that with you here because I think, at least for me, it's been incredibly helpful. And this is going to form the basis of the roadmap, essentially, for our time together moving forward throughout the year. So the first most popular responses had to do with tailoring the content to specific audiences, which I think is incredibly important. And we're going to dig into that a little bit with the time that we have here today. And then a very close second was general facilitation skill building. So tips and tricks and opportunities to practice and to workshop the content specific to protective factors. After that came collaboration and networking, followed by really enhancing leadership and training skills more broadly. So thinking about confidence boosting and just developing yourself into a more effective trainer and leader. And then there's a handful of smaller categories, which I'll run through quickly. A few people were interested in learning about additional opportunities to train, maybe agencies that are interested in receiving training. A few people were curious about different frameworks and system change work and how protective factors framework overlaps or intersects there. And then a couple of people mentioned self-care. So given this very exciting information, my plan is to spend our next session in May really focused in on this idea of tailoring to a specific audience. What does that mean? What does that look like? I think it's worth diving deep there. And then our August session, I'd like to focus in on some more practical skill building tips and tricks and protective factor specific advice. And then we do have in November, thanks to the DCS Office of Prevention, we are going to do a in-person protective factor summit like we did last November. And this is the perfect opportunity to do basically both the 3rd and 4th categories, to give you space to network since you'll be together in person, find those opportunities for collaboration, and importantly, do essentially a sequel to our most recent summit where we spent time exploring our strengths with the StrengthsFinders assessment. This year, it will be an opportunity to build on that knowledge, to apply it, to become the best versions of our trainer selves. So more to come, but that's sort of the initial planning is really overlapping nicely with the third and fourth categories here that you all indicated were needs that you wanted fulfilled. So that's sort of the framework based on the information you've shared with us. And because we have time and we're all here together today, I wanted to jumpstart our discussion around tailoring to specific audiences and just dig in a little bit. So as I was going through those responses that you all submitted, I got really excited to see just how often this idea of tailoring came up, because what it shows to me is that collectively as a group, which is not surprising because you're all very effective trainers and excellent learners, you've honed in on what I think is the most critical principle in adult learning theory, which is relevance. So I pulled a quote here to sort of give us some fodder for discussion around this idea of relevance and why it matters so much for adult learners. And I will link the full article later in the chat. But for now, let's just start with this smaller quote. Adults are more likely to engage with training when they understand from the get-go what they're expected to learn and why. This is perhaps one of the most important principles of adult learning theory. For information to stick, the learner must find it to be both significant and relevant. Yes, relevance is key, the most important thing, which you obviously understand because that seems to be the thing on everybody's mind. How do we make this material matter to the people sitting across from us? And so as I was thinking about this, and like, there's got to be tools out there. I'm sure there's useful ways to frame this to make it easier to adjust content, especially in our situation when you're dealing with something that's prepackaged. So I happened to come across an article, which I will also share with you. But before I share the full thing, there was this idea expressed in this article written by a trainer, speaker coach who works for TED. So I'm sure you've all seen a million TED Talks. They're very compelling. They're very engaging. Partially, the reason for that is they have a team of people who helps the presenter craft something that is both compelling and engaging. And the director of that team wrote an article, which I'll share, but there's an idea she shared in this article that for me was super helpful and clarifying when it came to this idea of relevance and how do you make something you're presenting or delivering matter to the people who are receiving it. So I'm going to share this quick little quote, and then I'm going to tee us up for a group discussion. So part of this article she shared said this: "This is what every communicator should be asking themselves before any kind of communication, whether it's a keynote or a TED Talk or something smaller like a pitch to your boss or a statement at a community meeting. What gift are you giving the audience?" It's such a simple question, but it was a little bit mind-blowing for me because I hadn't ever really framed relevance or sort of the delivery of content in the gift giver, gift recipient frame. And that to me was just like, because it immediately made me think of something kind of silly. I'm not sure why this image popped into my mind when I read it for the first time, but immediately what I thought of was, man, how ridiculous would it be if I gave my soon-to-be 37-year-old husband a gift that my 6-year-old daughter would love? And immediately, I don't know if you all are familiar with Squishmallows, but for the uninitiated, Squishmallows are these very soft pillows that are shaped like various animals. And my 6-year-old is obsessed. She's just like so into these things. And I just had this image in my mind of like how silly if I presented to my husband this like unicorn Squishmallow as a gift. Like, it would be ridiculous. He has no purpose for it. It would not bring him joy. He could not use it in his day-to-day life, right? It would be such a silly thing to do. And it would be thoughtless on my part. It would be a thoughtless gift. And so that image and the silliness of that really helped like clarify for me, oh man, like I have a responsibility as a speaker, as a trainer, as a teacher to put a significant amount of thought into what the people on the receiving end need, what they want, what they could actually use. And so this was such a helpful frame for me that I wanted to pose the question to you all. And in the context of delivering these protective factors trainings, what is the gift that you're giving to your audience? How would you respond to that question? And how might that response differ based on the audience in front of you? So I want to give us time in breakouts to discuss it. Now, to be clear, you are not being asked to craft some like very beautiful, fully formed, articulate response to this question. It truly is just a jumping off discussion point to sort of prime and get the wheels turning for our deep dive in May. So let's go ahead and I'm going to set up some breakout rooms now so you guys have a chance to chat with each other. When we come back, I'd love to just hear some highlights from the conversation. Welcome back. Looks like we're all here. I would love to just hear some highlights from the conversation you all just shared. And I'll take notes.
Michaela, this is Gerald.
Gerald.
I want to work with Rose and Patricia.
Yes. I love that.
They're
Working with
We
amazing.
all, Gerald.
They're amazing.
I absolutely agree with you. What were some of the things that are sticking out to you, Gerald, about that conversation?
Interesting in talking with Rose and Patricia that the specialized groups that they've been involved with really came out. But then how they identified that what they offer those groups clearly is in the gift arena. It's like Patricia said, with working with her groups, it's empowerment, and Rose working with a very specialized group in the medical field, very unique aspects of that. So the information presented in both are a gift to those.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Other thoughts, things that are really front of your mind after that conversation? Anyone?
Well, we may have gone a different direction in our group. We were kind of thinking about what people can kind of take away from it, and what those gifts are that they receive in general, just when they hear about the protective factors and that kind of thing. And so we were thinking about hope and resilience and tools that they can apply into their life.
Yeah. Those sound like excellent gifts. Yeah, I love that. And who doesn't love hope? Yeah, gifts that are good for all people, which we always need some of those. Thank you.
So in our group, we talked about the gift of engaging with people, how very, very unique and special that is to just be able to spend quality time with the people that are in the room. Also the gift of energy, because when you're presenting, there needs to be this element of excitement and enthusiasm and motivation so people don't fall asleep on you and are really there to learn and to grow and think about how can I use this gift and give back to the community of what's been given to me.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you, Lillian, for sharing. Yeah, there is something really special about those connections that you're making in the moment when you're all like doing the same thing and building something together. It is really special. Other thoughts? And it's okay if there aren't, but I do want to make space if you do. If there's anyone out there itching to share.
I'm always itching to share. In my group, we talked about really providing clarity to the participants of these sessions about their role in strengthening families, and that sometimes people don't realize that they have that role, that it's more about assessing risks and kind of tackling risks, but it's also about strengthening families, kind of building, which is, I think, like the last group said, very hopeful. It also helps people understand that they're already part of the solution. It kind of, because there's so many overwhelming issues that we all want to solve as helpers in the world, and it can be overwhelming to try to tackle everything. But this, we've found, is a way for people to see themselves in the solution, in the ability to kind of strengthen and support families and prevent the things that are negative in our society. So I think that is very hopeful, and that hope can be very fueling.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, I felt it, and I heard similar reflections from people who've gone through in 2023, this idea that I'm already doing so much of this stuff. I just didn't call it that. And now that I have this common language, it's just so affirming to see all the ways in which you've been doing the things that we know are the right things. And that's a really cool frame to be gifted. Any other thoughts before we move on? We have plenty of time for once. I didn't overstuff this agenda per usual. So
I just wanted to share that it could be the gift that keeps on giving. So like once they know of the protective factors, how they can apply, how they can obtain, then they can show it to other family members or model it to their children. So it could be passed on.
absolutely.
I just want to.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rose, go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up on that, what Molly just said, which was doing trainings, and then if you are in a position where you can come back to the group and you continue to work with them. I'm in a consultation program, so we did the training, and then we can come back, and then we can keep remembering to thread that into different conversations, and that is the gift that keeps on giving. Because now we have we can look. Let's double check those 5. What was in there that we talked about, or what might we have missed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's how you build, like internalize it, so when you keep revisiting it and building on top of it. I love that. Dr. Dawson?
I try to not talk so much because I'm always talking. Claire, Claire and I are joined at the hips. We talk so much. So
We love it.
And I say that lovingly, Claire. So, but when I think about what Protective Factors has done, I went into doing this work just specifically because of the disparity and disproportionality of African American children being removed from their homes. And I thought there's something that we've got to do where we can reach our families, reach our community, and talk with them and help them understand that when people who don't look like you walk into that space that you're in, they're walking in from a whole different perspective. And that perspective can get your kids removed. So this Protective Factors offers protection. It provides protection in real time to our families. So now they can speak the language, they can talk about it and explain in a regulated tone what's going on. And that, to me, that this is, I was thinking about, when you were saying earlier about the people that, I started teaching Protective Factors. I think as soon as I got the training, I went out. Claire, wasn't it in the PCA that I did that training, the first one? And I had all those folks in the room. That was my first one. But then since then, I've taught this program, Protective Factors, everywhere I go. When I say everywhere, I'm even talking about it. I went to Africa. I'm talking about Protective Factors in Africa because you can see the work that people, the community and all of that. And I tell people there's a name for that. These are protective factors. These are how you take care of your own. So anyway, I'm just over the moon about this program. There are 3 programs that Protective Factors, Triple P, Nurturing Parenting.
Yeah.
I'm over the moon of all of those. Hey, Janelle, of all of these programs. So anyway, I'll stop now.
Thank you. No, that is incredibly powerful. I had never thought of this framework in terms of protection. And that's just a really powerful thought. And just how cool that must be to be able to put a name to something that you can then communicate to somebody else and be like, we're doing it. And here's the proof. I love that.
And Carly, I am with you 100% about always having to share. But I think that you're so right. This is something that transcends culture and it transcends socioeconomics and everything. And one of the gifts that I've gotten from this is being able to apply it to my own life. And when I see it, and when things happen in my life, I'm like, oh, okay, who are my social connections? Who do I reach out to right now? Or, oh, my social connections are kind of low right now. I need to make sure that I'm staying up on that so I can, you know, take care of myself. So it's very powerful information for everyone in the world to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I always love, I was just telling Simone during the breakout how much I love being in any sort of event, virtual or otherwise, with this particular group of people, because you all are it's just reinvigorating. And it's just really inspiring to hear the reflections, and it's just a really cool space. Yeah, so thank you for letting us do this and for engaging so well and so productively. Okay, so I want to, like I said before, do a deeper dive into this idea of relevance, of how do you tailor the content for your audience? How do you think about the gift that you're giving to the people in front of you? And I want to do a deeper dive into that for our May session. And my hope is that I can get 2 to 3 trainers to provide some real life examples of ways that they themselves have tailored this content for a specific audience. I'm envisioning essentially like mini lessons, maybe 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes of each trainer, sort of delivering practical real world examples of how they've done it themselves. I think for the benefit of everybody, and especially for our newer trainers who have less experience or maybe haven't yet given their first training. So if that is something you would be interested in doing, sharing with the group of a way that you have tailored some of the content for a particular audience, I would love for you to put your name in the chat so that I can follow up with you and we can get planning on this May 23rd session, which is happening at the same time, 3 to 4 p.m. virtually. And of course, we'll invite the entire list of certified trainers to join us. So if you're interested, put your name in the chat. If you need to think about it, that's okay too. I will send a follow-up email and include this call to action. Thank you, Rochelle and William. Love to see that. Okay, so I'll give you a moment to do that. Also in the chat, you'll see I added 2 article links to the articles that I referenced and pulled quotes from earlier. So those will be there for you. They'll also be included. Thank you, Dr. Dawson. They'll also be included in the follow-up email as well. Love it. Excellent. Look at this. Done. We got our 3. Beautiful. Okay. Thank you all for volunteering. I really appreciate it. This is very exciting and I can't wait for May because I think it's going to be really, really, really useful and really helpful to the group. Okay. That is it in terms of content. Are there any questions or anything that people want to share for the good of the order before we wrap up?
Yeah, if anybody's coming to Prescott for the April Northern Arizona Thriving Families Conference, we would love to see you here. It will feature the Protective Factors Framework of 2 days, mandatory reporting, followed by mandatory supporting. And then Dr. Joan Fisher has a wonderful positive story of adoption and fostering that everybody will want to hear. It's a success story from her experience with 2 young people that they have raised now. They're on into college. So fostering works, adoption can work, the protective factors work. We as a community supporting families works.
Love it.
We'd love to have y'all in April.
Thank you, Gerald. And Gerald did send me a beautiful updated flyer that I will send to you all in the follow-up email. So if you're interested, you'll have all that info that you can register. I'm going to repost these links because I think not everyone can see them. So I'm going to put them back in the chat. And with that,
I have one more thing that I wanted to mention. It's not official yet, but I have heard that DCS is exploring integrating the protective factors training into their core training, which means that every person who gets employed by DCS would receive training in the protective factors, which could be huge.
Yeah.
So cross your fingers for that. And if that actually happens, we will definitely have more to share with you on that, because I think everyone needs to know about protective factors, but especially those that interface with families that are in crisis.
Absolutely. Game changing. So we will keep you posted as we learn more. Also a plug for our Slack channel. If you don't yet have access to it, let me know. I can send you an email invitation from Slack. The conversation has died down a bit, so I encourage you to get in there and rev it back up so we can connect and learn from each other. Okay. All right. Thank you all
Are
for
we-
your. Oh, I'm sorry.
Are
Go
we
ahead.
still using the Facebook thing? I hadn't seen a post for it. I posted something the other day and I was like, oh, nobody's using this anymore.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a Facebook
Yeah.
group.
Yeah, Michelle, it's my bad. There was one that was created after the 2015 and 2016 cohorts, which is now so long ago. So, well, I think it's only those cohorts that were connected and possibly the one afterwards. But because Facebook, we've gotten some feedback that Facebook can be a challenging place for people now with a lot of political vitriol. We thought that
Oh.
Slack, kind of an insulated group, was a better
Okay.
way to navigate things. So
Okay, I will figure out Slack. I haven't used that.
Yeah,
it's super easy.
Yeah, you will love it. I'll send you an invite, and there's a little tutorial. It's super quick, and I think it's pretty helpful. That I'll send you a link to as well. I
you.
personally love Slack. I think it's great, and I'm not on Facebook really anymore. So yes, I think Slack is great. All right. If there's nothing else, have a great day. Thank you so much for being here. And I will give you the gift of 8 minutes back on your calendar. And I will see you all very soon.
Thank you.